In this episode, I talk about flower essences for dogs and flower essences for all kinds of pets. I talk about single flowers and flower essence blends for the different kinds of conditions that our furry loved ones may experience and how to use flower essences to help them out.
Welcome to the Flower Lounge, a place for conversations with wildly creative people and a little plant-loving wisdom to help you experience life in full bloom. I'm Katie Hess, flower alchemist and founder of LOTUSWEI, and I believe in a world where we're all living at our personal edge.
Hey, this is Katie, and this will be a solo podcast about flower essences for dogs. We got such great feedback from the last podcast that I did by myself, and so I thought I would try to swing a few more of those in with more frequency. Let me know if you like this style of podcast. I'll continue doing more flower essence-based podcasts. I also love doing interviews with the incredibly inspiring people that we have on. So give me your feedback. Let me know what you like. This podcast is about flower essences for dogs, and I would say 99% of the information you could probably apply to cats and other types of pets. Since my personal experience revolves around dogs, I'll just frame it around dogs, but you can apply it to other pets as well. So we get a lot of people asking, can you give flower essences to pets? And the answer is yes. They're really sensitive. Animals are really sensitive, actually. I would say probably more sensitive than humans. And you can switch up their remedies more quickly. So like, for example, if we as humans might take a particular remedy for 3 weeks, animals might move through it more quickly. They might be able to switch out remedies each week. Not to say that you can also switch them up every day. There's no way that you can hurt your pets with flower essences. They're so gentle. So you can switch them up. There's no problem with that. But like if you're really focusing on a particular issue, you may notice that you see like a pretty dramatic shift after about a week or so. So I'm going to talk about some of the flower essence blends that we have just because it's so easy to work with, especially with pets. And then some single flowers that we can throw in to the mix as well that may be extra helpful. So I'm just going to start with joy juice. It's so fun when you think about why we as humans take flower essences and what the results are and how to translate that to pets. So if you think about a situation that would create sadness for a pet or apathy or lying around, this actually was really common so I had a dog named Joy. She's not with me anymore, but when I would travel, and I traveled a ton in the last maybe 5 years of her life, I traveled so much. And every time she'd see the suitcases come out, it was like, oh, mopey, mopey, mopey. And so I would just request my roommates to give her joy juice in her food and water. Give Joy. And that seemed to really help. It would really brighten up her mood, and she'd be a lot less mopey when they would give her joy juice. How to give flower essences. So from the modalities that we use, so we have the Elixir, right, which has honey, a tiny bit of organic grape alcohol, and water. You can put it in their water bowl. So like, putting a dropper full in their water bowl, or I usually typically say like 7 drops in their water bowl. Now, one thing you want to be aware of is because we use honey in our remedies, you'll just want to be really, really diligent about refreshing the water like every meal or once a day, because the honey can make stuff grow in the water, right? You don't want the water to get yucky or slimy. So if you're going to put the elixirs into their water bowl, just make sure you're really diligent about refreshing it every time you refresh their food, every time you give them a meal. So like twice a day or once a day. What I love to do is just to put it right in with their food, or you can put it like drop some on a treat. And it all depends on the pet, right? Like 2 out of my 3 dogs were not very good at drinking water. They just weren't water drinkers. They wouldn't drink out of that bowl. They'd go drink out of like the pool or something outside. The 3rd dog just drinks a ton out of the water bowl. So you can, if your pets are big water drinkers, I would say go for it and just refresh really often. Otherwise, you can put it in their food or in treats. You can also use the mist. Some dogs love it and some dogs don't like it. Maybe they're afraid of the sound, or they feel like it's a punishment, or you're doing something weird that they don't understand. And some dogs love it. My dog Joy, man, especially in the summer when it would be so hot here, right? It'd be like 115 degrees in the summertime. And she would love to be misted. It was just like the ultimate treat during the summer to cool her down. She just like loved it. And I've seen actually other people in our community send me videos or photos of their dogs like licking the mist, as they're being misted, they kind of like lick it out of the air. That's pretty entertaining. And then I've seen other dogs like really not like the sound or feel like it's some sort of weird punishment. So if you have a pet that, especially if you have a cat and they don't like water, the best way to do it is then to mist your hand and then just pet them. Just mist your hand and then rub it on their fur. Just as effective as the Elixir. You can do the same thing with an oil serum, although may or may not want their fur to get greasy or oily. And then I have actually used anointing oils, but I don't use them very often just because the scent is very strong. So in the serums, it's much more diluted, not a strong scent. In the anointing oils, the essential oils are at a perfumery level dilution. And so since dogs' noses are so sensitive, I would say probably best to stick to serums, mists, elixirs when you can. There's no problem with anointing oils. I just think since their noses are so sensitive, it just might seem a little overwhelming to them. And then yet another way is to just like line up a bunch of flower essences. Right now in our countertop, we have a whole line of single flowers and blends. And my 11-year-old niece intuitively selects essences for each dog with each meal. So you can change it up. You can really target a specific issue. If you want to target a specific issue, we'll get into that right now. And you'd want to have them on these remedies for like a week straight. And I should say that with a lot of these remedies, I feel like there is a significant benefit in using them only twice a day. So like adding them to their food. But if you want to speed up or magnify or intensify the benefits, you'd want to use it, a few more times a day. So like 4 to 5 times a day, if you can remember to do that. And then if they're drinking it from their water bowl, they get it much more often. So rescue dogs or dogs that have experienced any kind of trauma in the past would recommend a flower essence called bee balm, which you can find as like a single flower. That's particularly good for trauma situations, and also the blend called Inner Peace. So both of those two, bee balm and Inner Peace, helpful for not only rescue situations, but also like thunderstorms. So a friend of mine, Frank, has 2 huge pit bulls. The biggest one, the boy dog, actually, he's enormous. Literally his head is like the size of larger than the size of a basketball. But the poor boy, he's so afraid when he hears thunder. So he'll go around, run out in the muddy lawn, and then run back in, and then run in Frank's closet, tromp all over his dirty clothes, and then hide in the closet. So in situations like this, oh my God, and not only thunderstorms, but fireworks. So like 4th of July, New Year's Eve, like total disaster, right? So like Frank will definitely have to stay home on those 2 nights during the year because poor Guango just gets so stressed out. But he'll give him Inner Peace, like during the day and that whole night to try to calm him down. Also, I find both either bee balm or Inner Peace elixir to be helpful for surgeries and recovery. So, if you think like anything that would be traumatic to the body, not just, or to the psyche, not just like rescue situations, but also surgeries, being spayed, having to go to the vet, being in a new environment, moving across country, having to ride in the car if they don't like to ride in the car, anything that would cause them stress. Inner Peace would be a great remedy for that. And then we have situations like you have a dog and you get another one. And the first dog is jealous, or they don't get along, or they snap at each other. I know we've had this situation with our dogs when we would first bring in a new one. It would just sort of, it's like rearranging the pecking order. Who's the alpha dog? Where does everybody fit in? Sometimes they'd challenge each other, or we'd have other dogs over. And all the dogs I know are all rescue dogs, and all the family friends' dogs are rescue dogs. And so everybody's always got some issue, right? Yeah. So, I've seen it in the last 10 years or so. I've seen a number of like little dog fights just among the dogs that I know. And in those situations, we always bring out the infinite love to try to soothe any anger, irritation, jealousy, snapping, one dog feeling like they're not getting enough attention or feeling too attached, wanting too much attention. Infinite love is the best. And also, if there has been any fighting between humans in your house, right? So like if anybody's fighting in the house or shouting or yelling, like sometimes that scares dogs. So using something like infinite love or inner peace to sort of literally energetically clear the air after arguments or if someone's been shouting, just to sort of soften the environment, because dogs and pets are so sensitive to what's happening around. And I think actually I have this theory that some pets can even take on not even just traits. I mean, they can take on emotional traits. They can even take on physical illnesses. I found it very strange that when Joy was alive, she had sort of a similar like physical makeup that I did. And whenever she would have certain issues, I also had them. So I thought that was a little bizarre. And, at times I would worry that she was like taking on things for me. And I think that actually can be a possibility. So you may want to consider, if you're working with a particular flower essence remedy, if you're working with it, then just giving it to your pet, because maybe your pet is feeling what you're feeling or taking on some of your emotions or even physical manifestations, so to speak, or energetic blueprints or patterns. So that's one other way that you can do it, is whatever flower essence you're taking, give to your pet and share. And then along the lines of love, I mean, fierce compassion elixir or blend is like sort of like the 2.0 of the infinite love. It could also be in situations where the pet's been taken from their mother too soon. The fierce compassion has a lot of good like mothering flowers in it. Or if, let's say, you have a dog and then suddenly you adopt a couple puppies, for example, you may want to bring fierce compassion in to help your existing pet sort of like be more motherly to the new puppies rather than defensive or, feeling left out or feeling like not enough attention, like assuming that role of being more nurturing and motherly and taking them in. If your dogs ever have heart issues, I recommend infinite love or inner peace as remedies to work with their heart. I know that one veterinarian I spoke to said that because pet owners are now transitioning their pets into grain-free diets, right? Because of all the GMO wheat and corn and allergens, and like it starts to become just as confusing what to give your pet as what to feed yourself, especially if you are steering away from kibble. So there's like the kibble, right? Which is just rock and roll ready to put in the bowl. But then there is a significant amount of people who are using either dehydrated raw food or home cooking. So we home cook food for our dogs. And I've seen over the years that like this one doesn't take to that kind of grain. This one doesn't need that kind of rice because then she'll bloat up, and the other one needs this kind of thing. And this one doesn't do well with chicken, but this one does better with beef. It's like become just as complex, it seems, with pets as it is with us as humans, to try to figure out what we need and what affects our, what stimulates like an allergy response. I think that giving them probiotics definitely helps with that. And, to boost their microbiome reduces the allergy response, or can reduce it. But back to what I was saying, one veterinarian was saying that because we are now giving our pets grain-free diets, that the incidence, or that they've noted a correlation, that the incidence of heart murmurs in dogs has greatly increased. That is interesting. So now one of our dogs that doesn't do well on grains, we've been giving her oatmeal, and that works just great. Oatmeal's very good for the heart. It's considered a grain, and so it can help and nourish the heart. If you have a dog that is hyperactive or won't settle down or won't sleep or is keeping you up in the middle of the night, you may want to try Quiet Mind. This can also be a good remedy for when they have sore muscles. Let's say you took your dog out hiking or on a run or activity that was unusual. Maybe you're sore. Maybe your dog's sore too. So share. And yeah, anytime they're like moving around a lot, pacing, and won't settle down, or our hyperactive quiet mind can be helpful for that, or any kind of muscular tension. So if you have a pet that's really apathetic, you could try remedies like inspired action or full bloom for determination and motivation. Although, I rarely use these remedies. It seems to be with pets, it's more about like kind of the softer emotional states or more physical issues. But I think something like, flying on a plane or moving cross country and having to ride in the car, or something that requires like a significant amount of momentum, motivation, determination, sort of like drive, you may want to pull those remedies out for your pets. Or if you've been feeling lazy, I don't know, maybe you've been feeling lazy and apathetic. Maybe your dog does too. Okay, so another blend that I want to cover is called Radiant Energy. This would be a good one if your dogs have been ill, if they've been on any kind of medications. Also just a really good boost for, because we have so many like Wi-Fi and satellite and 4G and now 5G. And I've actually heard from someone that it's all of these like cell connections and Wi-Fi frequencies that are leading dogs to go deaf sooner. I don't know of any scientific research done on this. I'm interviewing a holistic vet soon, so I can ask her about that. But we know that Wi-Fi and frequencies like 4G and 5G affect us as humans. It's scary. Stay tuned for another podcast on 5G. But if it's affecting us as humans, then it's certainly affecting our pets. And so, although we do put yarrow flower essence in all of our elixirs and all of our blends and all of our formulas now for that very reason, but I always tend to think of Radiant Energy as more kind of like the complete blend of flowers that gives us more vitality. So it gives our pets more vitality. It offers like a gentle cleansing of toxins. Again, like we're not always sure of what foods to give them or what's in the food or something isn't sitting with them right. Radiant Energy is a nice way to sort of help them gently cleanse their body and get rid of toxins or irritants or even like energies that they've picked up somewhere that they could shed or don't belong to them. If your dogs or pets have been experiencing fatigue or they feel exhausted or they are taking on the stress from other people in your home, for example, like I was saying before about like if someone is stressed or there's an argument, the animals will certainly pick up on that. So Radiant Energy is another good one. Can also be helpful when they've been spayed recently because pomegranate flower is really helpful for balancing the uterus and the female reproductive organs. So if you've had a dog that's recently been spayed, that will sort of soothe the energetic breakage or wreckage from removing the reproductive organs. A single flower essence that I love to talk about a lot with humans and with animals is called Self-Heal. Self-Heal is just available as Self-Heal Flower Elixir. And it's a flower that I collected on the side of a hill next to a hot spring in Iceland, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful flower. And its magic and superpower is about helping the body access its natural ability to self-heal. I sincerely believe that my dog, who's not with me anymore, that's Joy, but she lived to be 17. And when she was 15, the vet was like, okay, it's over. Do you want me to come and help her over the rainbow bridge or whatever they say? I said, absolutely not. No way. Like she gets to decide when she wants to go. I'm never going to do that. And then she went, we started putting her on herbs for a variety of reasons. She had a couple different conditions, like her body wasn't creating as much red blood cells as she needed. So she just wasn't like as vibrant and energetic. And then in her later years, like past 15, she started having strokes, and the strokes would remove her ability to move. Like they would make her immobile. And then she would figure out how to walk again. And then she was like a normal dog. Crazy. If you want to know any of those stories, a lot of them are on the blog. If you specifically have a pet with issues with red blood cells or strokes, you may want to check out those blog posts. But any pet in general that is having any sort of health concerns, health conditions, something's off, whether they're on medication or not. I don't put my dogs on medications unless it's absolutely, well, I haven't had a situation where I've ever had to put them on pharmaceuticals. I just don't. I prefer to work with Chinese herbs and flower essences. But back to the self-heal, I firmly believe that it put 2 extra years, that plus the Chinese herbs put 2 extra years on the end of Joy's life, because she really needed a boost. And then I was like, oh my God, why am I not giving her self-heal every day? And once I started incorporating that into her diet, a lot of these funny little weird issues and strokes just resolved themselves, and her, energy levels and fatigue and weird stuff that would pop up just resolved itself. And for the last couple of years of her life, she was just pretty stable. Like she just kind of kept on trucking. So, I mean, this really self-heal could be a remedy that all of us humans and pets alike just take regularly on a regular basis every day. There's no harm in it. It's great if you are trying to figure out what things are making your dog's belly bloat up or not bloat up, or they have digestive issues or any kind of health concerns. Definitely weave self-heal into the mix. Had a lot of people tell us that self-heal has helped them as humans with digestive issues. And so I can't help but believe that might be the same for pets. And then there's the whole death process. So I wrote a lot about the death process of Joy, and even recorded a podcast very soon after she had passed about the whole process at pretty intense detail. But I just want to mention the flower essences again that can be helpful in those situations. In terms of the blends, Boundless Wisdom really was initially created for like hospice type situations. And so Boundless Wisdom, Inner Peace, Infinite Love, those are like the 3 that I used a lot. Like I would mist my hands and then pet her. And then as a flower elixir, during the last week, I worked with Saraka, and I think I gave it to her in her water until she wasn't drinking water anymore. And Saraka is for that feeling that you don't have enough time. Sort of like you see the sands of time moving through the little, what do you call those things? I can't remember what you call those things. You see the sands moving through, like the sands of time, and you can't stop time, and you're worried that you're missing something or you're losing something. Obviously, you will experience a loss. And so you get this sort of frantic, panicky sense of like, time's running out, time's running out, time's running out. That adds this whole level of sort of panic throughout your system that doesn't really add to the experience, let's say. So by working with Saraka, by taking that 5 times a day, you as the human, and then you can also share it with your pets as well if they are drinking water, eating food, it just helps us relax into the present moment so we can fully and totally appreciate every element of that present moment without the overlay of the sort of panic around it, around the loss of time. So that's sort of like the quick story of the most commonly used flower essences and blends and flowers that I've worked with dogs. If you have any personal experiences that you want to share, feel free to reach out through email or on Instagram or Facebook. I always love to know more stories. And again, a lot of people will ask, well, which way is more effective? Is it the elixir? Is it the mist, the serum? Like which one is going to be the most effective? And really it's just like you as a human being may be more drawn. Some people are more drawn to taking things in their mouths or taking things in their beverages. Some people have a regular practice of making tea for themselves, and it makes sense that they would then be able to put whatever elixir they want in their tea. Whereas other people are more into like misting themselves, and they love the scents, or they love putting oil on their skin. And so you always want to choose the remedy that's going to be the most delightful and easy to use for you. So when you're thinking about what types or like how, like what's the delivery system of how you're going to work with flower essences and your dogs or your pets, you just want to think about them and you, like your schedule, your rhythm, your routine, what's going to be really simple and easy, what's going to be the way that you're not going to forget to give it to them. I like to put it right under the counter so that I see it, so that I don't forget. It goes into their food, on their treats, in their water, and then you can mist it onto your hand and pet them, or mist your dogs, do a little bit of serums. Whatever is going to be the way that they like to experience it, you'll be able to tell if they like it or not, and what will be the most practical for you so that you don't forget and that you can work it into your daily life in a really easy way. Yeah, so if you have any questions, reach out. If you like this type of podcast that goes more specifically into different uses of flowers and flower essences, let me know and I will record some more. Thank you again for joining us on the Flowerlounge Podcast. See you next Wednesday.
Thank you so much for listening to the Flower Lounge. I'm Katie Hess, and we'll be releasing a new podcast every Wednesday. If you like what you heard, or you know someone who might be touched by our conversation, share it with them. And don't forget to subscribe. To find out what your favorite flowers mean about you, take the quiz at LOTUSWEI.com.